this is Mr. Buro from Staten Island Tech, and welcome to the SITechCAD LiveStream series. Today you'll see Junshen Gao, class of 2021, demonstrating 3D art and 3D modeling in Blender, which is a free open source 3D design CAD program. He'll be designing a skateboard from start to finish in about an hour and 45 minutes. This was a live broadcast that was recorded on April 7th of this year. Please look for more SITechCAD live stream sessions live on Zoom or archived here on the SITechCAD YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and here is Junshen introducing his session.
Hi, I'm Junshen, and I like to make art, especially in 3D. Blender is my favorite program to use, and I've been using it for about a year now. It's very easy to use, very intuitive, and I'm going to teach you how to use it. So, in this series, I'm going to teach you how to make things in Blender and explain the concepts behind what I'm doing and how to model, texture, lighting, rendering, everything you need from start to finish for a project. So I hope you enjoy the video.
I'm Junshen. I'm a senior at SITech. So I've been using Blender for about a year now, and so I've been taking Mr. Buro's advanced CAD class for 2 years now. At first I started with Revit, but then I didn't really like Revit, so I found Blender and I really liked it. It's really user-friendly, it's very easy to use. And if everybody can download the reference images, these two photos in the chat, and let me know when you're ready. Okay, so I hope everybody got the reference images, and I'm just gonna get started now. So if everybody's in Blender right now, you're gonna see everything here. So at first it might be a little intimidating because there's a lot to know, but first thing I need you guys to do is go to Edit and then Preferences, and then go to Add-ons. Okay, and so the add-on you're gonna need is called Blender Kit, right here, Blender Kit Online Asset Library. So all you gotta do is turn that on and just press OK. And that's it for now. So you might get this menu, you can just hit the eyeball and it'll just make you go away. We're gonna use that later on. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna enable an add-on that lets you see what buttons I'm pressing real quick. So let's see, okay. Okay, so you guys should all be able to see what buttons I'm clicking now. All right, so originally in the email, I said to also use an add-on called Node Wrangler. It's not really relevant for the skateboard, so you don't really need it on. So just Blender Kit, hit the checkbox, you get this little menu here, you just hit the eyeball to make it go away. All right, I hope everybody's with me. Alright, so up to this point you should have Blender Kit on and just the default space. So first thing I like to do with anything is press A to select all objects in the scene, X to delete, and then click on delete. So now you have a clean space to work with. So first we need to get the reference images in there. So how to move around the viewport. So I'm going to go into top-down view. So top view. So next to your 1 key on your keyboard, there's a tilde key, right? Or yeah, it's the tilde key. So when you hold that down, you can look at any orthographic view. So you can look at the top view, the bottom view, left, right, front, back. So just holding it down and then bring your mouse around the circle. So I'm going to go into top view. So I'm going to hold down tilde and then go into top view. Right, so you're looking at the top from the top down. So what you're gonna do is take each image one at a time. You can just drag it in there. Oh, 1 second. There you go. So just drag both of these images in here and you should be able to, so G to move, and you can move these images around. So if you press G, hold on, why my key's not working? There we go. Okay, G to move around. So I'm gonna give everybody a second to do that. Just drag the images straight into the program. We're gonna use these as reference images. Okay, so this right here is the center of your world. So this is the world origin. And this red thing, this red and white circle in the middle is your 3D cursor. So I'll explain in a second what that means. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be doing the top-down view of the skateboard first because we're in top view, right? So click on the image and move it. Try to get the center of the skateboard as close to the world origin as possible. And we can go here on the right side. You have these little menus here. If you go down to this one, which is like an image one, when you have the image selected, you can click opacity and turn down the opacity so you can see the world better. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. This is my first time doing this, so yeah. Oh, by the way, I hope everybody has a mouse with the middle wheel, because we're gonna be when you hold down the middle wheel and you drag around, this is when you can move freely around the 3D space. If you don't have a middle mouse wheel, you can go to Edit, Preferences, Input, and then Emulate 3-button mouse. So what that does is if you hold Alt and then drag around, it does the same thing. So middle mouse, drag around, Alt, click, drag around.
How did you change the opacity again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so you click on the image, and then on the right side you have these menus, and you go here to this image icon one. You click opacity, and then you turn it down.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So, if you have the skateboard in the middle of the world origin, first thing we're gonna do is Shift A to add a new object. Then we can select cube. Now, the cube is already in the center, which is really good. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press S to scale it down to line up these sides with the skateboard. So we're basically kind of tracing out the skateboard right now. And so right now I'm gonna do the top half of the skateboard. So I'm gonna press G and then press Y for the Y axis. You can see it's locking onto the Y axis now. And so I'm just gonna place it right here. It doesn't have to be exact. We're just gonna move the cube, G, Y, and move it past the middle line. So we have it like this.
Junshen, this modeling technique, it's an example of box modeling, is that correct?
Yeah, but also I'm gonna get into a little more advanced thing called subdivision workflow. So it's kind of like taking box modeling and then like subdividing it to make it like more high poly, like more detailed. But yes, I'm gonna do box modeling right now.
Great. These are terms that he's using that are very universal in 3D modeling programs. So if you're a 3D Studio Max user or a Maya user or a Rhino user, you could find similar terms throughout these programs and learn from a lot of different techniques that you see on YouTube or from him.
All right. So I'm gonna keep going. So when you have the cube selected, there's an orange outline around it. Anytime you have anything selected, there's an orange outline around it. So click on the cube, and now we're gonna go to edit mode. So if you press tab, after you press tab, you see little vertices. So these are vertices. There are points of the cube that where all the lines intersect. And so on your keyboard, when you press 1, so nothing happens when you press 1 because we're in vertex mode. Right here, you can see there's vertex mode, there's edge mode. So you press 2 and you can select each edge. And then there's 3, which is faces. So vertices, 1, you can select individual vertices and move them around. Don't do that yet. 2 for edges and 3 for faces. So that's just a basic edit mode navigation. So I'm gonna go back into top view. And so I'm gonna go press 1 into vertices mode. And now I'm gonna do Shift Z. So what Shift Z does is it goes into wireframe mode. So I'll go into this in a second, but basically you can see right through the mesh. So in Blender, what happens if you just go like this, like draw a box and select the top 2 vertices without wireframe mode? It only selects the top 2. I want to select both of them, both the top 2 and the bottom 2. So in top view mode, I press Shift Z, and now if I draw a box like this, it selects both the top and the bottom row of vertices. So just like this, select all 4 vertices in the front. Okay, and now I'm gonna press E to extrude. So E to extrude, and then just drag it forward. All right, so drag it to anywhere you want, just like as far as you want. And what you're gonna do is, so when you press E to extrude, and then just drag it forward. Now you see the skateboard kind of curves inward towards the top. So what we're gonna do is press scale, S to scale, and then X for the X vertex, for the X axis, and then we're just gonna drag it inward and trace along the curve of the board. So E to extrude, drag forward, S to scale, X axis. Hold on. My screencast keys are not working today. Okay, S, X. Not sure why it's not showing up, but basically E to extrude, bring it to any point, S to scale, and then X along the X axis. So you kind of have a rough outline of the board. And right now, it doesn't have to be clean at all. You can do it very easily, just a simple, quick, rough outline of the board. And we can clean it up afterwards. So let me know when you're ready and once you get this, or if you have any issues doing this. So right now, I'm just going Shift Z in and out of wireframe mode right now. So if you use your middle mouse and move around the block, you can see that it's way too wide from top to bottom. So what we're gonna do now is press S to scale, and then Z. I don't know why it's not showing the key after I press scale, but you press Z for the Z axis. So in Blender, X is horizontally, Y is up and down. So this is a 2D plane, and then the Z axis is the 3D up and down way. I don't know I forgot what the mathematical term was, but the height, that's what I meant. So S to scale, Z for the height, and then from outward in, you just drag your mouse inward. So S, Z, and then have it relatively flat towards the center. So just scale down the size. Okay, 1 second. Okay, whoever just joined, I'm sorry, but you might have to just watch the replay to catch up later, or you can just watch as I keep going and make this, and then try yourself later. Okay, so right now we've brought the cube to relatively the right size, and so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna mirror it over the x-axis, so we don't have to do things twice. We don't have to do that same thing for the underside. So first issue is, so the first thing I have to do is go here on the right where you have all the menus and to the modifier tab. So it's like a little wrench. You're gonna go to add modifier and you're gonna add mirror modifier. And then you're gonna select the y-axis because the object is along the y-axis, I think. But anyway, so there's an issue here when we do the mirror modifier. So I hope everybody's on the mirror modifier. You just go here, add modifier, and then mirror, right? And then press, instead of X, you choose Y. So, but there's an issue here when we use the mirror modifier because it's not doing it across the X axis. So I'm gonna get rid of this for now. And if you have the object selected, you can see that there's an orange dot here. So what the orange dot is the origin of the object. So the origin of the object is, if I hit X and then Z, it's gonna spin around this origin point. If I press G to move around, everything revolves around this origin point. So we have to move this origin point into the center so that it will mirror 180 degrees over to this side. So what I'm going to do is press F3 on my keyboard. So F3 pulls up all the commands that you can press, or all the commands that you can do. So press F3 and then type in origin to 3D cursor. Now, if you remember before, 3D cursor is this thing in the middle of your world, which is the world origin. So now the orange dot is in the center of the world, of the object, right? Or for the object. So now if you add the mirror modifier and then you choose Y, there's a little gap, but you can fix that by turning clipping on and then press G again. So now so if you go into edit mode, press tab again, and then do Shift Z into wireframe mode. Select everything, right? So there's still the gap here, so we have to press G and then Y. G to move, Y along the Y axis, and then just mash these together. So you can see I'm just mashing these together. And what clipping does is, in the middle where the vertices meet, they just, instead of having two sets of overlapping vertices, they just combine together, and now you have like two clean vertices to move with. Or one vertice to move with instead of two sets. So that's a common problem with 3D modeling, overlapping vertices and overlapping faces and edges. You do not want anything overlapping because it messes up the mesh for further down the line when you need to texture it or light it, things like that. So right now it's pretty good. It's a little short, but that's okay because we moved it downward towards the center. So what I'm going to do now is just go back into, so you have the board selected, press tab into edit mode, Shift Z to go into wireframe mode. And now whatever you do to the top half, it applies to the bottom half. So you see I'm just pressing G and then Y, selecting the vertices and just moving them around. And you can see the bottom set move as well. So now you have a decent looking board. It's too flat right now, so what I'm gonna do is press, so I'm gonna bring it up first. I'm gonna press G and then Z, just to have it above the image so I don't have to look through the image to see my object. So just a basic cube right now. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna curve it by using this reference image. So I'm gonna press R for rotate, X for the Y for the axis, and then you can type in on your keyboard 90 degrees. Just type in 90. So R, let me undo that. So from the top view, R to rotate, Y for axis, and then 90. So it rotates it 90 degrees. And so I'm going to stay in top view and I'm going to press G and then X axis and just line it up with the side view of the board. Like this. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm looking at the chat right now. You weren't able to mirror it correctly. Did you set the origin to the world, the origin to 3D cursor? cares. Oh, okay. So I mentioned before, I'm not going to be able to solve everybody's problems on the spot. So if you just message me on Discord afterwards, I can try to help you. But I think it might just be, so your orange dot should be in the center of the board right now for it to mirror correctly. And yeah, anyways, I'm gonna have to move on. So when you have the board like this lined up with the reference photo, what you're gonna do is press tab back into edit mode, shift Z. So most of the time when you're modeling, you wanna be in the wireframe mode because it lets you access all of the vertices without leaving any out. So you can see every single vertex. So I'm gonna select these top two, just draw a little box over it, press G, X for axis, and then just move it over like this. And so the next step I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add edge loops. So what edge loops means is I'm gonna add extra. If you look at this right now, this is an edge loop right here. So these lines that go across the board, if I can select it real quick. Hold on.
An edge is a connection of two vertices. So what he's saying is it's a loop of edges.
Right, yeah. So this is an edge loop. Right, so I'm gonna add edge loops with Control R. So when you press Control R, it puts it right in the middle of two edge loops. So right now, if you go around here and then click, just choose any of these and just click there, and then you can move the edge loop around before you place it, or right click and it will just be in the center of between these two edge loops, sorry. So I'm just gonna add an edge loop to each bit of the board. It gives it a little more geometry to work with, and it makes it easier for the next step. So, and anything you do on this side will automatically be done to this side. So you just have to do Control R and then drop edge loops in between each edge loop. Okay, so now you should have a little more geometry to work with. So the reason I did that is because next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a nice curve to this board and match it up as exact as I can. So I'm gonna press O for proportional editing. So what proportional editing is, if you press G now, and then you can scroll your mouse and you have this little radius here. So this is the radius that it's affecting. So if I expand the radius, then the entire object is being affected. But if I tighten the radius, then only a certain part of it is affected. So right now, I'm just gonna press G with proportional editing on. So O for proportional editing. At the top here, you can see if it's on or off. So you just need to have this on, and you're gonna select edges that don't line up to the board and just press G and then move it over. G, X, move it over. G, X, move it over. Kind of just tracing along the side of the board until it matches. And keep the radius tight because you don't want to be affecting too many of the vertices. You just want to keep that area kind of clean and matching with the board. Oops. Okay, so you're lining up this little curve at the top of the board. All right, so I'm gonna press Shift Z, get back into solid view mode, and now we have kind of a skateboard already, the deck at least. So right now we have these ugly lines that go up and down, and it doesn't look like a skateboard yet. So first step we're gonna do is click on it, click on the object, right click, and then shade smooth. So what shade smooth is just, it gets rid of harsh edges. But okay, to reiterate, click on the object, right click, shade smooth. and now it looks a little different. And now we need to go into here, the vertex groups menu, little triangle next to on the right side of the bar, and then go to normals and then auto smooth. So what auto smooth is it gets rid of the weird artifacting that you get from here, and basically any degree over 30 degrees will not be smoothed out. So like this is a 90-degree angle, right? It's still solid, but if I didn't have auto smooth on, then it tries to round it out and it gives it a bad look. So this is fine for now. So shade smooth, triangle menu, auto smooth. Okay. All right, I hope everybody's still keeping up. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is click on the board and go into the modifiers tab, and I'm gonna do a subdivision surface modifier right here. Okay, so to reiterate, add modifier, subdivision surface, and you just click on it. And now you have, so this is a modifier stack basically. So before we did the mirror modifier, so we flipped the board from this way to over this way, and now we can, anything we do this side occurs on this side. And so what we just did is a subdivision modifier. So basically it takes the vertices and then finds the average of any two vertices, and it'll try to find the center of it, and it'll draw an extra center in the middle. So right now the board, if you look at the top, it comes to a sharp edge because it's finding the average between this edge and this edge. So it's kind of closing the gap between these two. But so what we have to do now is we have to fix the issues that the subdivision has given us. See, the skateboard isn't supposed to come to a sharp edge. It's supposed to be rectangular on the side. So you can go back into top view. If you press tab into edit mode, now press Control R, so you're adding an edge loop, and move around the mouse until you get straight down the middle of the board, and then click and then drag towards the edge, but don't go completely towards the edge. You just want to 1 second, let me do it again. So you have the board here in X-ray mode, in wireframe mode. Control R, draw an edge loop down the middle, and then drag it as close to the edge as possible, to the other edge as possible, without it touching. The reason you don't want them touching, like I said, is because the vertices will overlap, and you don't want vertices to overlap. And now you can do it again for the top of the board. So Control R, click, and then drag. And now you have more of a flattened side of the board, so it doesn't come to a sharp end. Because basically what you're doing now is you drew an extra edge so that it'll find the average between these two, the average between these two, and then the average between these two. And the closer, and so how I'm selecting the edges is if you hold Alt, and then if you're in edit mode and you press 2 into edge select mode, and you hold Alt and then click on an edge, it selects the entire loop around it. And so what you can do is, if you mess up, say like you want to move this edge, right? You press G and then G again. Let me turn off proportional editing. So turn off proportional editing, G, and now you can slide it along the edge that you placed it on. So I can slide it up and down. So you can see when I bring it too close, it kind of comes to a sharp point here. Like, you do not want that. Just bring it close enough so that it has like a somewhat smooth edge, and that should be good enough. Okay. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so right now we have this board. Some of it is still a little rough around the edges here. So I'm gonna press tab. Yeah, so we were in top view mode, so I'm just gonna press middle mouse and kind of move towards the front. You can just look at it. Just look at it from this angle, right? So you select the object, press tab into edit mode, and now you have some faces that are kind of hiding the edges. That's fine for now. What we need to do is smoothen out kind of the end here. So we could add more edge loops, or we can come to the modifier stack, and where it says levels viewport, you can turn this up to one more, and then it smoothens out this rough edge that you had before. So this looks like a skateboard now. It's pretty close. Okay, we still have like a line through here, but it's fine because it's pretty much unnoticeable when you put the material on top. So yeah, you kind of have a skateboard now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into edit view mode, and so if you look at the skateboard, right, the black grip tape comes close to the edge, but it doesn't completely cover the edge. So what we need to do is separate a little piece of the edge so that we can put a proper material on and make it look properly. So you can go into the right view. So hold tilde, go to right, and then in wireframe mode, so tab for edit mode. So if you see this orange outline, you're in object mode. If you tab, you go into edit mode, and then you can stay in edge mode. And so what you're gonna do is press Control R, and then just add an edge loop and bring it kind of towards, just create a little gap towards the top and bottom of the board, so that when we put the material, we can have a little space for the wood and put the grip tape right down the middle. So just Control R, drag up, drag down. You're giving it that rim around the board for the grip tape. And then, so towards the front, you might have too many overlapping vertices here, because when you did the edge loop, it kind of drops it over the other ones. So you can just choose these two inner vertices, press G, and then just GY, and then just move them in a little bit so you get that the edge around the top as well. So GY, like that. Okay, so right now we have the rim around the top and the bottom and the front. So adding those edge loops kind of sharpened this part of the board too much, because right now it looks like there's a cutoff here. We could fix that by just adding Control R, adding an edge loop right down the middle, and then selecting this edge and just dragging it forward, GY, like this, and then it kind of rounds it out. It's a little rough, but that's okay because when we texture it, it won't be noticeable. Oh, So you want to move around the model, make sure you're not, make sure everything's still aligned. So yeah, basically we're just adding edge loops wherever we need to, adding a rim around and keeping the front straight. So it's okay if yours isn't exactly like mine. This doesn't really matter for now. As long as you have this little rim around the front, around the edge, it's good enough. So now I'm gonna go into materials right here towards the right side. It's this little circle with like the red and black. And now I'm gonna select the skateboard and I'm gonna press new. So this comes up with a new material. So we don't have to necessarily worry about the materials as much because we have the Blender Kit add-on. So the Blender Kit add-on, if you have this material icon selected, see it's the same icon, you can just go straight into here and type in like, I'm not sure if they have grip tape, but let me see. So no, so they don't have a grip tape. So we might have to make our own grip tape actually, but that'll be easy. But let's do the wood first. So skateboard on the side, it's wooden. So we're gonna do the edge first. So first we're gonna go into edit mode. Press 3 to go into faces, face select. Go to right view mode so you can have a good look at all the faces. And so if you go Shift Z and then press 3 and then just drag across and select the faces that you want to give. Okay, so this is for the grip tape for now. So I'm selecting all the faces. Oh, okay, sorry. Don't go into edit view mode actually. I mean, don't go into X-ray mode. You can, if we're only selecting the top of the board, we don't need to select the bottom of the board. So if you go into right view mode and just drag over and select all the faces in the front, it might be hard to select if you have something like this going on where the subdivision surface is kind of hiding some of the faces. So that's when you can go into edit mode, but just try to make sure you don't select any other faces other than the ones on the front. And so in the material section, I'm just going to name this grip tape and I'm going to press assign. So now these faces are assigned to these faces. This material is assigned to these faces. And so instead of individually selecting the rest of these for the wood, I'm going to press plus on here for a new material. I'm going to press new, and I'm going to name this one wood. And then with these still selected, I'm going to press Control I. So Control I inverts the selection, and now you can just press assign, and now you have two different materials. So now you have the grip tape and the wood. So with the grip tape selected, you have wood, you press Control I, it selects everything else for you, and you just press assign. So you're assigning the grip tape material and you're assigning the wood material. Okay. If anybody has a question or if I'm going too fast, please stop me. Okay, yep, I'm gonna keep moving on. So now that we have the materials assigned, we can go into object mode and we can just look up wood. So any of these will do. I'll just pick the one that looks closest to the reference picture. So it's kind of like a brighter wood, like this is fine. You can select any of them that you want. So when you make sure you have wood selected on the materials panel and just choose one of these woods. So right now, it has a material applied, but we don't see anything because we're in solid view mode. We have to go into the material preview mode. So if you press Z on your keyboard, hold down Z on your keyboard, and then drag your mouse downward into material preview, you can now see the wood around the board. So it already looks good like this, except for the big border around the front. So what I'm gonna do is just add more edge loops to tighten this curve. So Control R and add another edge loop, and then just bring it close to the top once again. So same thing with the bottom. And now that looks good. Okay, let's fix the front real quick. So I can just take this. Okay, I don't want to bring this outside of the perimeters, but just do something like this. Then G, X, like this. Make sure the board is still okay. Okay, I added a little too many edge loops here, so it's kind of giving a weird artifact thing at the top. But it's okay because you won't notice it in the final render anyway. GY, just to tighten up the curve a little bit. Okay, I really don't like this, so I'm just gonna bring this out a little bit. Alright, so one of the common problems of having too many edge loops is that you get weird artifacts like this. I would spend some time to just move vertices around and try to fix it, but I don't really have too much time to do that right now. So I'm just gonna try to get it as close as possible and move on, because it's not really that much of an issue, especially because at the end it's probably going to be unnoticeable. So right now we don't have a grip tape material, so I'm going to go into shading and hold on. Am I still sharing screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Okay, so when I go into the shading tab, you kind of get the other menu, but now you have this thing at the bottom. So right now we're on the wood material. If you go to slot 2, you can press grip tape and go to slot 1. So what you have here is our nodes. So make sure you have use nodes on. I'm not sure if you do. So make sure you have use nodes on. And basically what you have now is this menu that lets you modify the material however you want. So grip tape is black. So I'm gonna take the base color and I'm gonna make it black. And then, this is a big menu, but the only things you have to really worry about is base color and roughness. So roughness is how shiny an object is, or no, I should say how much light reflects off of the object. So if you turn the roughness to 0, you can see that it's like glass. Glass has very low roughness. It reflects the environment very well. If you turn the roughness up, then all the light scattering gets muted as it hits the surface. So grip tape is like relatively high roughness. So I'm just gonna leave it at around like 0.6, 0.7. Yeah, that looks okay. And specular is how shiny you want it. So basically you can play around with this, get it the way you want it to look. But the rest don't really matter. Just base color and roughness and specular if you want it to be a little more shiny or a little less shiny. So that looks fine for now. Let's see what else I have to do with the board. Okay, so for the bottom of the board, if I go into left, right, and then select the board in object mode. Oh, let me go back to layout. So let's go back to layout. So now we have a decent looking board. So I'm gonna go into left view so I can get a good look at the bottom of the board, because I don't want it to just be a wood board. I want to give it a picture or a graphic. You can use any picture you want and kind of use this as like a model. Oh, so press new and new material. So now you have another material. Now I'm going to call this bottom. All right, so I'm going to go back into edit view mode, and then without going into x-ray mode, because I only want to select the bottom of the board. So I'm just going to draw a box like this, and it should only select the bottom of the board. See, if it does end up selecting some parts, some vertices from the top, you can just do hold control, and then just draw a little box around the ones you don't want. And you can always do Control Z to undo a selection or redo a selection. So right now I only have the bottom of the board selected. So let me go back to left. And now I have the material selected, and I press assign. And then, so there's still some issues here. So this face didn't get assigned. So I'm gonna come here, press assign. Okay, just come to these faces that didn't get assigned properly, and just press assign. Assign. Okay. This isn't the best skateboard I did because there's a little artifacting here. I hope that isn't a huge issue on your part. Usually I would clean it up at the end. So basically just going to edit view mode, selecting some of these, and then you can just move them around and fix it. But I don't have that much time to do that. So I'm just gonna have to leave it for now. So you have the bottom material assigned, and right now it's just a base white material. But I'll teach you how to do an image. I'll do it right now, actually. So go back into the shading tab, and in the slot, you have slots 1, 2, 3. So right now, it's reflecting the board. It's still reflecting half the board to the other side. If I put an image here, it would reflect it to the other side as well. But we don't want that right now. We want to have one image across the entire thing. So I'm going to go to modifiers, and with my mirror modifier selected, I'm going to do Control A. So Control A applies the modifier. So let me show you again. Sorry. So in shading tab, press the mirror modifier and then do Control A. And now if you select the object and go into edit mode, it is now one object. This side does not affect the other side. So now with your materials here, so you can expand the menu a little bit with these with the edges of the menus. So here in base color, we're gonna press Shift A and then do image texture. So do Shift A, search image texture. Shift A, search image texture. And then we're gonna drag color into base color. So right now, kind of have just a black empty space. So you can press open and then choose any image you want. Like, let's see. So if I go to downloads, images, and then just choose a random image, like, sure, this one. So you can see the image gets put there and it gets tiled a few times automatically. The way to fix this is, so you can do any image you want. You do tab and then A. So tab to go into edit mode, A to select everything, and then you press U, Smart UV Project. And so now, tab A to select everything, U, Smart UV Project. And what that does is it automatically finds the correct way to display your images. Now, this is still a little too big. I want to have control over the image and how it fits on the board. What we have to do is go into UV editing. And then, so when you go into UV editing, you get this menu, or you get this window here. So let's go back to the material tab. All right, just click off of the object, press bottom, and then press select. So when you have this selected, it only selects the bottom faces that you've assigned that material to. And so if you come over here, choose the image that you wanted, and then, so over here we're in solid view mode, so we can do Z material preview. So now I can select these vertices here on this side and then move them around with G. So it's still a little weird because it's not done properly. So let me do something real quick. Okay, it's fine. I don't really have time to go into that, but basically, if you just if you go to bottom and then press select, you're basically only selecting the bottom faces, and then over here you drag, and then you can move around the image to kind of get it where you want it. It's still kind of clipping right now. It's just because this image is really large, and it's trying to find ways to just fit it in there. But this is good enough. Any image will do. You can always change out the image if you just go to shading, and then with the image editor, with the image texture, you can just go here and select a new image. Okay, so we have the bottom of the board. All right, so this is pretty much the top of the board. So the next step is to do the trucks. So this might be the hardest part. Oh, by the way, is everybody good on the board?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna start doing the trucks now. So the trucks are probably a lot harder than the board. It's probably the hardest part to model, actually, because it has all these weird curves and stuff. We're just gonna get it as close as we can, and yeah, we'll see we'll see how far we get. So with the board and the image, you can shift, select, or just drag across. Select both of these things, and then just press H. So H just hides them. So you have all of your objects here in the top right, and so H hides your objects. If you press Alt H, it brings them back. It brings everything that was hidden back. So press H and just hide those. So just like what we did with the board, we're gonna bring this image and bring it to the center. So this is the front view. I'll do the back view first, actually. So I'm gonna just bring this here, and so to analyze the trucks real quick, we have about 3 or 4 objects here. So we have this piece, this metal piece, we have this base plate piece, we have this orange piece with the metal on top, and we have this thing going through the middle that holds the wheels. So I'm gonna start with this piece right here, the biggest piece. So I'm gonna do shift. Oh, okay. So first thing, select the image, go to the image and then opacity, and you can turn it down, just like the one we did with the skateboard. So I'm going to do Shift A, Mesh, and then Cube. So we're going to start with the cube again. So I'm going to press S and then just scale it inward. And then GY to move it up. And then scale to just scale it outward. So just getting the cube to line up in the middle. So I always start with the cube because when you subdivide a cube, so like we were doing before, the subdivision modifier. So what happens when a cube gets subdivided is that it becomes more round, because now these two are average and these two are average. So you see the middle point is kind of coming out. So if you subdivide this like 5 or 6 times, then it becomes a circle now, even starting from a cube, because everything just gets averaged in towards the center over and over again. So anyway, I'm going to be in top view mode. Select the cube, go into tab. Oh, sorry. Yeah, press tab to go into edit mode, and then Shift Z. So back into wireframe mode. Select everything, and then do S to scale, and then Z along the, X along the X axis. So S to scale, X along the X axis. So now we're kind of lining it up with the picture. So I'm gonna move the picture over a little bit and just line it up as best as I can and keeping it centered. Okay, so now we just have a long rectangle. Yes, we have a long rectangle. Now we want to curve it in and downward towards the center. So what we're going to do is Control R to add edge loops like we did before. And we're going to drop one right in the middle. And now, instead of drawing two edge loops like this, right, we're just going to select the one in the middle and then do Control B. So Control B is it's bevels an edge, so it splits it in two evenly. So right now I'm just gonna bevel it and then bring it to where it starts to curve. So it looks like it starts to curve dramatically around here, and then even more here. So every time there's a dramatic curve, I'm just gonna drop an edge loop.
Sorry, what buttons did you press to bevel it again?
Control B. So Control R to drop an edge loop, right click to cancel, and just have it in the middle, and then Control B, and then drag it outward. So we're gonna do this multiple times. And then, so at the end, I kind of have this lined up with this here. All right. So what I can start doing is, in edge select mode, I can just select this edge. Make sure you're kind of dragging and clicking, because sometimes it won't select the top and the bottom edge unless you do this. If you just click on it, sometimes it'll just select the top edge, sometimes it'll select the bottom edge. So just drag a box over and make sure you're selecting this edge. And what we could do now is give it a subdivision surface modifier, and now it becomes kind of rounded. So just have the object selected, add modifier, subdivision surface. And now we have these edges selected. We can go into proportional editing mode. So just up here, proportional editing on, and with these two edges selected, press G, and then make the version make the radius smaller, and then you can kind of drag it downward. And we can fix this issue that's at the top towards the end with more edge loops. So subdividing and edge loops are the best thing to do. So okay, so I'm not in X-ray mode, and that's why I didn't select both edges. So you go to wireframe mode with Shift Z, G, Y, and just drag it down. And then with these edge loops here, you can select them and then kind of scale them up or drag them down, or you can go into vertice select mode and just drag these up or down to just line it up with the image. So, you know, something like this. Usually I would select both sides at the same time, but make sure you're in wireframe mode so that you're selecting both the front and the top and the bottom vertices at the same time. So just bring it down like this. Over here, bringing them down, and that's kind of close. This little bend down here we can fix by just adding another edge loop and then bringing it up. We don't want to bring it too far up though, because so if you press G twice, G, you can slide it along the edge. So we don't want to bring it too far up because it'll make the top too flat. And in the reference image, it's kind of rounded. It's flat, but it if you look at the side view, it's kind of circular. So we don't want to bring it too far up. We want to just go like this, and then we can select this edge loop, press G twice, and then bring it up. So basically, you're just tweaking like little things with the geometry most of the time, just kind of fixing it, matching, lining it up. So I'm just gonna hide this real quick. You don't have to do this. So if you see here, this kind of like flattens out at the bottom as it goes inward, but right now it's kind of sharp. So what I'm gonna do is just press E to extrude. Okay, wait, making sure I have both sets of vertices selected. I'm just gonna press E and then drag downward, and now it kind of comes to a sharper end. Oh, I accidentally unhid everything. Okay, so you kind of have this shape now that kind of lines up with what you have here in the reference image. And you can always go like this and then bring it out more so it lines up better with the image. Like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just close enough is good. Okay. Now, let's do the base. So make sure you don't have this object selected. Make sure you just click off on the side and then do Shift A and then another cube and scale. Now I'm going to drag it over here to the side view of the base. So I'm just going to G, move it over, and then I'm going to do G, Y just to flatten it. Just going to move it here and then G, X. So kind of just matching it up like we did before. Okay, so that's close enough. Oh, okay. So I'm just adding another cube in here. Let me move it up. So I'm just adding another cube here for the base. So if you take a look at this picture here, kind of right down the middle, there's like this little like thing that holds this bit and the other bits together. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, a little awkward to do it at this angle, but just go into edit view mode, add an edge loop in the middle of it, and then Control B, and kind of just make little space for it right down the middle. So cube, tab, add an edge loop, Control R, add an edge loop, click, right click, and then Control B, and then drag outward, and you're making this little rivet straight down the middle. Okay. So now you have this here. What you can do is go back to top view mode and kind of have this, just the top face selected. So click off of everything. Just have this top face selected and go into top. And then you can press E. Oh, actually, that's not what you should do. Give me a second. Let me think about how to approach this. Okay, yeah, we can just do E and then bring it up. So make sure you're in make sure you press Shift Z into wireframe mode and just bring it up to where the top meets. And so with this edge selected, with the top edge selected, you can press S and scale it inward a bit. And so with these curves and like this little gap here, we're just doing the same thing we were doing before, where we're adding edge loops and then tweaking them so that they fit the geometry. So Control R, drop edge loops where you think they should be. And so I'm in vertex select mode, so I can just select where all the edges meet and then press G and then just line them up. So select this, G, just line it up. And now I kind of have this shape now. So this is what you should get used to doing most of the time for modeling. This is the subdivision workflow modeling technique, where you're just putting loops in the middle and then adjusting vertices so that it fits a curve or fits the object that you're trying to model. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. So now we have this shape here. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna line it up with this one. So I'm gonna do R to rotate, Y along the Y axis, and then 90 degrees, just to have it line up with this picture here. So my model is, so this is like kind of tilted forward. You can tell that this is tilted forward because you can kind of see the back. It's not like a straight front view, but I'm just gonna adjust the size, the width a little bit properly, just to kind of get it approximately the same size. Maybe I have to scale it along the Y so it's not so tall, kind of like that, just to kind of fit what the proper proportions are supposed to be. Yeah, that looks good enough. So, okay, so right now this isn't subdivided. This is just straight a flat cube. So we need to go here and do subdivision surface. So when we subdivide it, it kind of becomes a little too round. So the way to fix that is just to add more edge loops where you want it to be flatter. So just gonna add some edge loops here, like so. kind of just around the perimeter, around where there are sharp curves. Straight down the middle towards the sides as well. Kind of just follow the reference photos. You can see where there's sharp angles and where there aren't. Don't obsess too much over the being exact. It really doesn't matter. Shade smooth, and now you have like a nice round smooth object. This should be a little more sharp, so I'm gonna bring it like this. There we go. Like so. All right. I hope everybody's keeping up. If you're not, that's okay. So now I'm gonna just take this and bring it down here and line it up. And I'm gonna make sure it's properly lined up like this. So if you look at the reference image, this part is along the shorter of the scoop. So I'm just gonna put it towards here, and so if I go into left view mode, I didn't shade this smooth, by the way. So right click, shade smooth, and then you can, from the left view mode, you can just press R and kind of rotate it and then line it up. So kind of like how you're doing in how it's doing in this reference image. Just kind of lining it up. I'm sorry I'm doing it at a weird angle. It's because there's a lot of reference images for me to pick from, and I'm trying to jump back and forth between them. So yeah, okay, this is actually backwards, so let me just flip it 180 degrees, because this orange ball here is supposed to be in front. So yes, like so. So next step, I'm just gonna do the orange ball and the metal things around it. So I'm gonna do Shift A, and instead of cube this time, I'm gonna do a cylinder. Okay, so that's really big. So I'm gonna do scale, S to scale, R, X, 90. So now we have a nice cylinder here. So I'm gonna bring this down here as well, and I'm just gonna line it up. If I do Shift Z, I go into wireframe mode, and I'm just gonna line this up as best as I can. And now I'm gonna do tab into edit mode, add edge loops, and just line it up as I did before. So that's already good enough, pretty much. You don't really need to overthink these things. They're very small details that you don't have to obsess over. So let's do that again. So I could do Shift A and then another cylinder, and then I would have to scale down and move it all over again. Or I can just select this object and do Shift D. Shift D duplicates it, and then I can just scale it down. S, S, Y, and I have to press Y twice because it's kind of at an angle, so it's gonna scale along this axis. But if you press Y twice, it scales it along its own local Y axis. Okay, sorry. S, Y, Y. No, S, S, Z. Yes, okay, so it's along its own Z axis. So I'm just gonna bring it down here. It's kind of like a little cap for the top. It looks like it comes out wider towards the bottom, like so. And then I'm gonna do have this selected, Shift D, bring it under, rotate it, kind of doing the same thing, like so. And then yeah, that's kind of already really close. So I'll do the bolts at the end since it's kind of like the last things you have to do. So now what I'm gonna do is go into left view mode, bring this, not the image. So shift and click and drag to select things, control click and drag to deselect things. So I had the image selected, control click drag gets rid of it. So go into left view, I'm just gonna move this up here. So right now it's still slanted, so I'm just gonna line it up. If you just go around the different views, you can just rotate it until it fits the way it's supposed to look. Kind of like so. If you go to top view, whatever you're rotating is from the top view. If you go to the left view, whatever you're rotating is from the left view. Like so. So that's just to kind of get a feel for how to move around in Blender. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna select all these things and just hide them for a second. So H to hide. So just to have this piece here. So I'm gonna go Shift and then into edit mode, and I'm gonna drop a edge loop right down the middle. Okay, so I dropped the edge loop down the middle is because I want to delete everything on this side. So in wireframe mode, I'm gonna select everything past the middle one, X, and then vertices. So I just deleted half the mesh. So I did that because I want to do a mirror modifier and have it mirror over, so whatever I do to this side happens to this side. And also modifiers happen from top down. So what happens first is the subdivision one. So the mesh gets averaged out and then it gets mirrored. For these two, it doesn't really matter which order it happens in, but for some modifiers, it matters. Like you'll get different results based on which one happens first. But for these two, they don't matter. Anyway, so you have this mesh mirrored. And now whatever you do to this side happens to the other side. So I'm gonna bring back the other things that I hid. And now this might be the most difficult part of this tutorial. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all these things, bring it back down, and then rotate along the y-axis 90 degrees. To line it up with this image now. Okay, so this one has to be a little bigger, just proportion wise, just gotta fix that up. Okay, so if we take a look at the image here, this curves around this cylinder. So this piece has to come out, down, and around it to hug it like so. So how do we do that? We have to take the mesh we have to take the mesh and then add a loop cut here, and then press 3, select any face, and just hold on, let me move the image back. Right, okay, so you have this object selected. You add an extra edge loop here, and then you select the face that you want to bring out and around. And then what you're gonna do is press E and pull outward. And maybe you have to press G and bring it down a little bit, and then rotate it a little bit. So you're just gonna E, extrude, extrude, and just bring it around it. So if I go into the left view now, or maybe the front view. Okay, the back view. Any view that lets you see like so. So now you can do any further adjustments. And we want to bring it into each other. So rotate and extrude. So back to top view, or back view actually, just to drag it out more. Extrude. And then with the mirror modifier, make sure you have clipping on, so that when you bring them together, it kind of comes to a single vertices that you can just connect. Okay, 1 second, I messed this up somewhere. Okay, here we go. One second. I have the vertices sort of messed up here. Okay. Let me just redo it real quick because I kind of messed it up too much. So like this, vertices, and then try again. So don't be afraid to start over. Second time you do things, third time you do things, probably better than the first time you do it. I did this tutorial like I did it a few times before I was confident enough to actually teach it. So yeah, just E, drag it out, and then now you can scale it. Bring it closer so that it's not as round. You can also add more edge loops to make it rounder. Like so, and then maybe a little smaller. It's more like hugging around it. This. Gonna bring it in more. So yeah, that was probably the most difficult part of the tutorial. If you could get that, you can probably model anything now. Let me add some more edge loops, kind of make it more flat, like so. It's not even exact to the reference image anymore, but that's kind of what references are for. You're just kind of using them as a guideline. You don't have to follow it one for one. Might have to be a little smaller too, actually. Or I'll just bring this part out more. Sorry if my moving around is a little disorienting. I'm just used to being able to know what I'm looking at. So I'm really sorry if it's really hard to follow. Okay, anyway, I think this is close enough. Maybe I should try moving, just bringing these up more. Make sure I don't select any other faces. See, there's a face here. Okay, so I'm just gonna, yeah, just like that. And then maybe add another edge loop, make it sharper. Okay, that looks all right. Okay, so rotate Y, 90, nope, negative 90, rotate Y, negative 90, and then just kind of line it up a bit. All right, so almost there, almost done. Okay, so we're missing these little hex nuts, the screws here. So we need 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. We also have this rod going through the middle. That's kind of like the only things that are left to do. So Shift A. We're gonna do a cylinder, but this time we're gonna open the menu here, the Add Cylinder menu, before you touch the cylinder. This is very important. You have to do this before you move it or scale it. Go to Add Cylinder, and then in vertices, instead of 32, just 6, because it's just a hex nut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so vertices 6. Now you have a huge hexagonal prism. So now just scale it along the z-axis. Okay, so if you see here, there's kind of a hole in the middle of it. So how we do that is go into edit mode, Shift Z to go into wireframe mode, go into face mode and select both the top and the bottom face, right? And then you're gonna press I to inset the face. So insetting. So what insetting does is it just pulls all the vertices to the center and makes a copy of it. And so now we can do it once more, I, right? And then do scale Z or scale Z. Sorry, I keep saying Z. So scale Z. Now you've brought the center into each other. So kind of have the shape that you want already. So now we just have to line it up with this now. So like we did before. Oh, I've gotten past the time. Oh, I'm really sorry. So this is taking a little longer than I thought it would. You guys can go if you guys don't want to stick around, but I'll just quickly try to finish this. We're almost done anyway. So yeah, with this hex nut,
Junshen, how much time would you expect? Just estimate, it's okay.
like 20 minutes at most. I just need to like do a bit more.
Okay, keep going.
All right, really sorry about that. I thought I would be faster. I guess I took a little too much time explaining. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly go through the rest of this, just scaling it down. Scale X, it's just another hexagon, and then you can just take the same nut, Control D, and then line it up. Like so. Close enough is good enough. It doesn't have to be exact. Bring it over here. Okay, and C. GZ. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this part. Now we just got to do some wheels quickly. So let's just do another cylinder. Bring the radius back up to 32. And then same thing with the hexagon. We're just going to inset this towards the center. And then do it once more. And scale Z. And scale Z. We kind of have the wheel already. Shade smooth. Rotate Y, 90. like so. Bring it over. Okay. Do a quick subdivision. GZ. Y. Okay, I think that's good enough. Shift D, duplicate, drag and drop another one. Let's make them a little bigger. Let me delete this so I can get an exact copy. G, X, kind of pushing it inward, make it look like it's supposed to be on there and not just floating. Let me turn this up a little bit. Shift D, X. Okay, and there you have it. There's the truck. Now I can. So now let me just do the materials quickly. So the wheels, I'm gonna give it a wheel material, and then so if I don't need to assign individual faces, like with the board where I had to select the top, the rim, and then the bottom, I can just click on it in object mode and then just choose a material. So now wheel is assigned. I can go to base color. Skateboard wheels are like kind of yellowish, so like this, and then turn the roughness down. Skateboard wheels are very shiny. And then with this, we can give it a metal texture. We can do that with all of these other ones actually. Metal. So just assign these with this one. Metal. So all these can be the same. And then with the add-on, you can just look for a shiny metal material. Something like that is fine. Okay, it might take a second to apply the material. All right. So with the object that you have the material already selected, you can just select all the other bits that you wanted, and then select you select the parent last. So you select the children first and the parent last. So we want to give this material to these objects. So we select everything and then select this one last. You do Control L, and then you can choose materials. So now automatically assigns all the materials. Oh, and this one too. So press this. Make sure you have this selected last. Control L, materials. Let me move this inward a little bit. Oh, and this one too. Oop. So this, Control L, materials. Hold on, I did it wrong. I did it in the wrong order. There we go. Kind of not liking the way the wheel looks, so I'm just gonna inset this face. Gives it better geometry. Let's see. Let me bring this out more. Bring it out a little more. And then the orange, you can just go here, new, orange, ball, and then just give it an orange color. Okay. Let me inset this face as well. Like so. Right, so really sorry that I'm rushing this. It's taking a little more time than I thought, but I'm almost done. So I'm gonna do Alt H to bring everything back. And now I can get rid of these reference photos. And so I'm just gonna flip this board around, rotate Y 90. And then I'm gonna take everything here, rotate X 90. This is a little too round here, so I'm just gonna do a little final loop cuts here, like so. And then bring it over to the skateboard and just line it up towards the center of the board, like so. And then you can just select all of these, Shift D, Y, rotate Z 90, or hold on, rotate Z 180. So I'm just duplicating it. So Shift D to duplicate, Y to move it along the Y axis, and then rotate Z along the Z axis and 180. So I'm just flipping it around. You could use a mirror modifier, but you would have to do it individually for each object. And for now, for time's sake, I'm just doing this quickly. So it's pretty much done now. I'm just going to select everything and then select the board last, and then do Control P, parent, object. So now okay. I didn't bring these down. Oops. Okay. Anyway, I can just do that right now. So G, select everything, G, Z. So G to move, Z to bring it down. So I'm just going to bring it into the body of the board. And so what I did before was I parented it to the board so that now when you move the skateboard, the trucks and wheels move with it. So I can rotate it. It'd be flat. So 180. And then boom, now you have the skateboard. So let me make sure I line this up properly. Okay. These could be a little bigger. So let me select everything except the board and just make these slightly bigger. And drag it down a little bit so it's not inside the board. Scale Y, SY, drag it inward a little bit. S, Z, nope, just S. And then GZ. So I'm just tinkering with the size, making sure it's proportional to the board. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So in Blender, when you want to render something, you do Shift A and you can add a camera. So when you do Shift A and you add a camera, it adds it from the view that you added it in. So it's here and you press this little button here and you toggle the camera view. So now you can do G, middle click, and then drag backwards so that you can get a nice view of the board. Or yeah, just getting it in there. So something like this, right? So I'm just gonna show off the graphic here. I want to try to show off the graphic like this. Sure, this is good, right? And now if you hold Z and then go into rendered view mode, it's kind of dark here. So if you go to render engine and like over here where you have the render section, if you switch it to cycles, or actually here, yeah, switch it to cycles and then go back into material preview and we're gonna add a light. So Shift A, light, and we can just do a point light. So now we have a light in the scene and we can put it. So I'm gonna go into camera view mode again, camera view mode, and then just move the light to the side. And so if we go to render, it might take a second. But the light is too small right now, so select the light and go to the light section, the light menu here, and you can turn the power up. Maybe you should do this in solid view mode or material preview mode, because in render view mode it might take a long time, but I have like a decently good computer, so I can do it in real time. So I can turn up the brightness and the power and the radius of the light. And then, so you can pose it however you want. You can move the board around. And so the last step is you go to world here, this little globe icon, and so you have the globe icon, and now you can choose a color for your world, so as your background. So just as a basic background, you can just, so I kind of like the blue. The graphic kind of complements the blue. It also could be I like the green as well, but I'm just gonna go with something like a greenish blue. Okay, so once you have something like this, you can press F12 on your keyboard, and then it'll start rendering. So this is what a rendering looks like. It goes from one cube at a time, and it kind of spits out whatever you told the camera to see. So yeah, so this is my final render. Maybe I actually don't like the green that much, and you can always adjust things and move them around and then re-render it.
Thank you very much again to all of you that came, and very much thank you to Junshen. You did an amazing job. Way, way, way stronger than me in Blender or any 3D art modeling at this moment.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everybody.